So Douglas Murray has given his recommendations for what the new American administration under President-elect Trump should do really throughout the world, but particularly with regard to the Middle East, Israel, Iran, etc. Before I show you his recommendations, I want to show you what he said recently in the media about his critique of the Biden administration regarding Israel, Middle East, etc. Have a watch.
What happened this week with the election result not only changes everything in America, but changes everything in the Middle East. It can't be stressed enough. The Biden-Harris administration devoted much of its energies for the last year in trying to get regime change where? In Jerusalem. They did everything they could, from Chuck Schumer to Kamala Harris to all of them. It was about trying to get Benjamin Netanyahu out of power. If the White House in the last 4 years, and particularly in the last year, had spent 1/10 of the time it spent trying to get regime change in Jerusalem onto doing regime change in Tehran, the mullahs would have fallen by now. The threat in the Middle East, the intransigent part, is not Netanyahu. The intransigent bit is Hamas and its backer, Iran, the revolutionary Islamic government. They're the ones that are still holding Americans hostage. They're the ones who are still holding more than 100 people hostage in Gaza. They're the ones that refuse to have a ceasefire. They're the ones that have refused every ceasefire negotiation for the past year. The war could have been over a year ago if Hamas had given up. Instead, it has been decimated. Hezbollah is being decimated. But the crucial thing is the head of the snake. The head of the snake is the revolutionary government in Iran. It's now naked. Its air defenses are taken out. It's the Iranians' turn to do the tit-for-tat now to Israel. If they do, when they do, the response from Israel, I hope, it doesn't need military backing, but with the agreement, with the approval of the United States, the response of Israel this time should be to take out the nuclear reactors, take out the oil fields, topple the regime, as far as I'm concerned. That is the thing that is stopping peace in the region. If you get rid of the mullahs, you can have a peace deal across the whole region. Yeah. The Abraham Accords could even include Iran at some point, and even the Nobel Peace Committee should recognize that.
Yeah, it's interesting what Douglas is talking about, that there has been... Look, there's no doubt that the Biden administration has supported Israel when in many aspects in trying to defend itself, but it was also straitjacketed Israel. And yes, it is impossible to deny. This is not just a theory. And that's, by the way, a picture of Douglas Murray with Trump recently at his election night. And we'll talk about his recommendations to the Trump administration. But before we do... It's not just a theory that the Biden-Harris administration were trying to seek regime change in Israel. We saw Senator Chuck Schumer announce that on the floor of Congress, stating that that's what he wants to see, which was highly inappropriate for another country to be interfering in domestic elections of another country and domestic politics in such a way. But what Douglas is tapping into that I think is so true is there's this Western malaise that I think... I don't know if it was George Orwell or Thatcher or someone significant said a few decades ago that there's this malaise where we kind of blame ourselves, intellectuals blame ourselves for the hatred directed at the West by the enemies of the West. And rather than giving moral agency to the ones who hate and commit attacks and aggression, we blame ourselves. And I won't deny, by the way, there is something that's useful to introspection, but actually this comes to a point of insanity, where, just like we're seeing now, blaming the Israel government for the genocidal intentions of Iran and Hamas and Hezbollah, it really is actually part of the root of the problem, because people see what the Israel-Arab conflict as they fall for the narrative of the enemies of Israel and the West, where they say Israel came to the land, was aggressive, usurped Arabs' land and conquered them, and they're this kind of foreign entity. So of course the Arabs are going to resist. And so they're going to always put the onus on Israel and say, well, if something's happening that's making the Arabs do something bad or violent, then it must be Israel's fault. But actually, if you understand that it's actually the other way around, that the chicken and the egg is actually, the chicken is Arab hostility to Jewish equality with Jews, to to accepting Jewish sovereignty in the region, and not just that they should be second-class citizens throughout the world, accepting the Jewish people's right to self-determination and live in their ancient homeland, anti-Semitism, hostility to Jews, which it existed in the Islamic and Arab world for as long as Islam has been around. And that's not to say there hasn't been good moments or fairly calm, should I say, moments in Jewish Arab or Jewish Islamic relations. But there's clearly been a strain of anti-Semitism that's gone through all the way till the foundation of Israel, where we saw that what was driving the first Palestinian leader, Arab leader, as he really considered himself, Hajj al-Husseini, it was anti-Semitism. He collaborated with the Nazis, and so the chicken is actually Arab hostility to Jews, and so the egg is Israel's response, and so is Israel defending herself, and so to blame Israel the whole time, and that's what the Biden-Harris administration are kind of falling for a little bit, where they think, if only Israel does a bit more, but they don't understand the chicken in this whole thing is Arab hostility and anti-Semitism. I'm interviewing today the author of this book, Anti-Semitism in the Arab-Israeli Conflict, written by Professor David Stone. He's actually a professor of science, but he uses the scientific method to dissect the Israeli-Arab conflict, and he finds through his book the root of it is anti-Semitism. So this is absolutely critical, and I'm going to put up in a second video what Douglas's recommendations are to the Trump administration, because it's absolutely essential, some of the things he says that Israel needs to be doing next. So that's coming up in part 2 today. Have a watch. If you've made it so far in this video, I have a request for you. JTV has been having a really big impact in spreading the truth about Israel and creating positive associations with the Jewish people, Judaism, and Israel. We've really grown a lot, particularly in the last year, and we're having a really significant impact, both for Jews and non-Jews. But I really want to take JTV to the next level so we can start to compete with the other big online media beasts that are often peddling anti-Israel content. And the way we're going to do that is to scale even faster. So I'd love to build a team where we have other presenters doing shows like me, that start doing documentaries, supplementary content, animated content, etc., etc. And to do that, I'd like to build a bit of a team. So what we're going to do is we're going to do one fundraising day, just one, where we try and build up some funding in order to fund such a team. Now, to do that, it's going to obviously require people to get involved. And I'm wondering if you would consider, if you're watching JTV content and appreciate what we do and want to help partner with us in taking this to the next level and spreading the truth farther and wider than ever before, I wonder if you'd consider partnering with us simply by running a mini page on the fundraiser that we do, where you just reach out to your contacts on that day that we choose to fundraise and see if they'll all chip in. If you'd be up for doing that, of which I would be so grateful, then please click on the Google form link in the video description of this video, where you can simply just put in a few contact details. It'll be a very small commitment, as I say, literally just one day that we'll all agree upon as a collective community. But the impact is going to be so big. There's such strength in numbers. If we all pull together and do this, we can take this to the next level. And as I say, all of us can partner together in bringing and spreading the truth to the whole world. So please do consider clicking on that link, filling in the form, and I'll be in touch very soon to talk about the next steps. Small commitment, but a big impact. Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.